emergency. We're talking about an invasion of our country with drugs, with human traffickers.
Congress should have stepped up.
This political crisis that is being manufactured.
Democrats as well that call this a manufactured crisis, which is absolutely means that these are people in denial.
Aurora police are providing new details about what happened when a man described as a disgruntled employee shot his way through a warehouse. 6 people are dead, 5 police officers wounded.
We're having somber moments because, again, lives were lost. But we know that this is what they do every day.
Andrew McCabe is trying to walk back those comments to a degree, claiming his 25th Amendment talk was taken out of context.
The discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue.
Amazon's decision to bail on a new headquarters in Queens, New York has exposed the party's other reputation.
There's 25,000 jobs that you guys will no longer have the opportunity. You just anti-Amazon at this point.
Well, they say it's 25,000 jobs. Is it?
Trout in the rivers in Colorado and bonefish in the Florida Keys just shivering in their boots, if fish had boots, of Jedediah getting a fly rod. You were killing it out there.
I've never been fishing, but I just dove right in. You got to dive in.
Our friends at Bass Pro Shops teaching us how to fish.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's actually a lot of fun. He's still singing. I don't know what's going on with him today.
Because the song is amazing. I don't really care about fish.
You just love the turtles.
I love fish.
It's a great song.
It is a great song.
You now love fish. I got to agree with Griff. You had a nice...
I did. You know I'd let them all go, though.
You're a catch and release all the way.
I'd see them and be like, oh, look how cute. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Hey, Dave, are you awake? Welcome to Fox and Friends Weekend! It's the weekend. It's Saturday. I hope do not get dressed. Don't listen to Brian Kilmeade. Stay in bed, under the covers, but turn the TV on.
Get some pancakes and watch us.
Yes, well, you have to get out of bed if you're making pancakes, but you don't have to get dressed. Yeah. Right? All right. I'm told we have to cover serious news, so we will. Straight to our top story. An invasion of our country, the president said. Those words from President Trump as he declares a national emergency at the border.
We're going to confront the national security crisis on our southern border, and we're going to do it one way or the other. We have to do it.
Jillian Turner is live in Washington with how Democrats are already resisting. What do you got, Jillian?
Good morning, guys. So with just a few words in the Rose Garden, President Trump's national emergency, the most hotly debated and contentious issue here in Washington over the past few weeks, is now off to the races.
I'm going to be signing a national emergency, and it's been signed many times before. It's been signed by other presidents.
He wasn't shy about admitting there may not actually be an emergency.
I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster. And I don't have to do it for the election. I've already done a lot of wall.
But the fact he's using the emergency to circumvent Congress on an appropriation and pulling money from the nation's military drew the ire of both Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, both of them quick to accuse the president of fabricating a border crisis, stealing funds from the nation's military, and making America less safe. They say this is plainly a power grab by a disappointed president who's gone outside the bounds of the law to try to get what he failed to achieve in the constitutional legislative process. The president is not above the law. The Congress cannot let the president shred the Constitution. So here's where President Trump will get that $8 billion he wants for the wall. He'll get about $1.4 billion from the Department of Homeland Security, $2.5 billion from the Pentagon's counter-drug support program, $3.5 billion from DOD's military construction budget, and $600 million from the Treasury Department. So over the coming weeks, as he admits himself, but in the interim, at least, guys, we have avoided another government shutdown. One less thing to complain about today.
Jillian, thank you.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you.
No, there's no doubt. One thing the president will get, and that's a comprehensive report there, because the debate will be about the constitutionality of it. Can he do? What's going to happen, though, there will be a big debate, and it will be all about the border. And if you're the president and you believe in securing the border and you're running against a party, and we'll get to this later on in the show, that's talking not just about not building walls, but potentially tearing them down.
Right.
You want to have that conversation for the months to come.
Well, before that debate starts, the lawsuits are coming.
Yes.
They're coming fast and furious. If you just look at the headlines, we'll put a few up for you here. Daily Caller. Trump was sued over his national emergency declaration in less than 6 hours. LA Times. California to sue Trump administration over national emergency declaration. The Hill newspaper. ACLU announces lawsuit against Trump over blatantly illegal national emergency. And the AP Judiciary Chair seeks hearing on emergency claim. That Judiciary Chair, by the way, Gerald Nadler of New York. You're going to hear a lot from him this year.
I think that's why Trump came out right away and said, we're going to get sued. You know, it's going to go to the courts. We'll wind up at the Supreme Court. He kind of laid that all out there. And it was kind of a comical way that he did it, just because he was late. He was like, this is what we're in for. Because he knew that the second he did this, he was going to get lawsuits. He was going to get folks on the left saying, oh, you know, he loves his lawlessness. The same folks that support sanctuary cities, the same folks that excused President Obama's complete overreach with DACA. So he was prepared for this. And I think he was backed into a corner. I don't like the original spending bill that he signed. I have concerns about it, but I don't know what else he was going to do. Either he was going to shut the government down again, which did not work, did not budge Democrats, or he was going to do this. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, it is a national emergency, so we had to do something.
So regardless of what the president did, cue the outrage from the so-called mainstream media. Watch.
President Trump set to declare a national emergency over the border wall, bypassing Congress in an unprecedented move.
President Trump, who is poised to take action today that could test our 230-year-old system of checks and balances in government.
One crisis averted, another one started. We'll see.
Here is the reality provided by the U.S. government's own statistics tonight. Apprehensions are down 76%.
Federal law gives the president wide latitude to declare a national emergency, even for something that's not really a crisis.
Griff, we're watching this and you said that's misleading. By the way, hold on. All of those people on that video are reading teleprompter, okay? In case you don't do TV, they're all reading teleprompter. So someone wrote that and they're reading it, and that's what they
And in parentheses, it says Armageddon.
Armageddon. In bold in the teleprompter, by the way. Griff.
Yeah, well, not to go on a tangent here, but we keep hearing in that report and in the AP wire I read this morning that apprehensions are down considerably from the year 2000. Here's the reality. From this time last year there was about 109,000 apprehensions across the border. We're 4 months into this fiscal year. It is more than 220,000 as of last night. I've got the stats. And what's different that they're not pointing out is it is overwhelmingly a crisis of family units, women and children. They have not dealt. They have not dealt with that, and it changes the dynamic considerably, because if you're a Border Patrol agent and you're dealing with someone coming across the border and it's a family, it takes more time. You take them to a detention center. There aren't enough places. There aren't enough beds. And so really we're not being totally honest about the debate.
And also when it comes to the national emergency declarations, where was all of the panic when it came to other presidents that were doing this? You know, Jimmy Carter declared 2, Ronald Reagan 6, George H.W. Bush 5, Bill Clinton 17, George W. Bush 13, Barack Obama, you know, media's best friend 12, Donald Trump 4. So, you know, you have to remember, this is all political. This is because this is the issue of immigration. Democrats have dug their heels on this. They feel like if they give Trump this win, if they allow him to admit that it's a humanitarian crisis, which is the same thing, by the way, that Democrats were saying for years, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, all of them admitted to a humanitarian crisis. But if they give in now, they're giving him a 2020 win.
Totally. And they don't want to hear from the experts. At this point, Griff Jenkins is an expert. No, really, no. The amount of time you spent, the insight you have is unlike really anyone else on this issue. Also, Mark Morgan, he worked for Barack Obama and was at the Border Patrol, ran the whole thing. He says Democrats are playing some identity politics with this. Listen.
This is the part of the frustration for those of us from a law enforcement, border security perspective. How many more statistics do we have to provide? How many more angel families have to stand in front of some of these individuals before they finally say, yeah, okay, this is real? It's just incredulous. This is absolutely driven on identity politics. The experts have spoken both on ICE, both on the United States Border Patrol and CBP, and they've told Congress what they need to protect our borders, for the security and safety of this country. And they have not just ignored it, they have just absolutely discounted everything that they've said.
That's true. And the most powerful point of yesterday in the Rose Garden, I thought, was when those angel moms stood up and held those photos and said, don't tell me it's not a crisis.
Yep.
The left uses emotion so powerfully,
They do.
so often.
With the Obamacare signing, remember that the signing
Yes,
of the
I mean,
bill? Yep.
good on the Trump administration for realizing that those pictures and those lives and those mothers are important and they're powerful.
Yep. And there is a golden nugget in this for me, though, because it's forcing Democrats to come out and say what they really believe, which oftentimes is completely absurd. You had Beto O'Rourke coming out and saying he would tear down the wall. Take a listen.
Bob.
You know, would you, if you could, would you take the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
I'd take the wall down.
And do you think?
And following up on that, you have Kirsten Gillibrand saying she would support the tearing down of the border wall. Take a listen to that.
What about a proposal from Beto O'Rourke to actually remove some of the existing wall? He was talking about El Paso, but the idea of dismantling some of the wall, good idea, bad idea?
I could look at it and see which part he means and why, and if it makes sense, I could support it.
Well, I tell you, since she's a little bit undecided on it, I would challenge Senator Gillibrand or the former Congressman Beto O'Rourke to spend from the RGV sector, the heaviest traffic sector, where this 55 miles of fencing will be built, to spend 3 days on the border alongside the Border Patrol. Kirsten Gillibrand, pack your bags, go down to the border, just 3 days, and maybe 1 day with the processing center where they are fighting over the number of beds so that they see from start to finish the entire operation and what's happening, and then make that decision to take down existing wall. The fact is, in the Rio Grande Valley, you have 55 existing miles of border for 316 miles of river border with Mexico. In that area, as opposed to the west side, there's almost 91% of the illegal crossings are in the area where there is no wall. Less than 5% in the part where there is a wall.
You're talking about facts and real things. Kirsten Gillibrand's been on both sides of every issue for the last 10 years.
That's true.
Oh, he's for it? Oh, I might be for it. Okay, and then I'll double down and go even further. This is inevitable as to where the debate has to go. If Trump's for the wall, they're not just against the wall. They have to be for tearing down the wall. Can you imagine the debates in the presidential cycle? I'm pro-wall. I want to tear it down.
Right, and how hard left everyone in the Democratic primary has gone. I'm dying to wait and see that they have to shift back to the center somehow for that general election. It's going to be hilarity. He's sitting back. He's like, I'm not saying anything. These people are losing their minds.
Keep the wall, tear it down. What do you think? Friends@foxnews.com. We want to hear from you guys all morning long.
We want to hear from you, and we also want to give you some headlines. 2 men are released from police custody after being questioned in the alleged attack on Empire actor Jussie Smollett. Chicago police citing new evidence for not charging them. The brothers from Nigeria were taken into custody Wednesday, police saying at least one worked on Empire. This comes just hours after authorities denied local reports that the racist and homophobic attack on the actor was a hoax. A suspected cop shooter is killed in a fire during a standoff with police. Authorities say Christopher Wallace shot the Alabama officer several times after getting pulled over. His vehicle apparently matching the description in an armed robbery. Wallace and a woman with him then fled to a nearby apartment. The cause of the fire is under investigation. The injured officer is expected to survive. Special counsel Robert Mueller recommending Paul Manafort serve at least 19 years in prison. Mueller's team also wants the former Trump campaign manager to pay $52 million in fines, forfeiture, and restitution. A jury convincing him last year of bank and tax fraud. And earlier this week, a federal judge voided his plea deal after ruling that he intentionally lied to Mueller and made false statements to the FBI and a grand jury. His lawyers say he did not lie. Now, this rat might need mouse-to-mouse resuscitation. That's just one of several comments on this viral photo of the Hennessy rat. It shows the likely dead rat, lying on a sidewalk next to an empty bottle of booze. The person who tweeted the image captions it with "just another day in New York City." Is it weird? I feel bad for the rat.
It's actually it's not as funny when you know it's dead.
Yeah. Did
the rat drink the Hennessy?
Well, we don't know.
Listen, if you saw Ratatouille, though, you're like, oh, a rat. Maybe he's cooking dinner for us.
If you saw Ratatouille, you were lied to.
I saw it and I loved it.
It's a good movie, though.
I'm a
it
rat
was a good
fan.
movie.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Rat fan?
Can you, look, we got to do the tease. Can you pass a basic U.S. citizenship test? Well, we'll break down a new survey that shows a lot of Americans can't.
Yeah, that's true. And she's known as the activist mommy on social media for taking videos of cultural issues. Now she has a new book with advice to help you stand up for your family, for faith, and for freedom.
Discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue and discussed it with me in the context of thinking about how many other cabinet officials might support such an effort. The Deputy Attorney General was definitely very concerned about the president, about his capacity, and about his intent at that point in time.
All right, the fired Deputy FBI Director Andy McCabe has a book coming out.
Yes.
And he did this interview with Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes, and there's some strong things coming out, one of which, obviously the headline there, this new clip that we got released last night that we're playing for you this morning, saying that there was a discussion, if you will, an effort amongst cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. The Department of Justice, by the way, saying, no, didn't happen.
Yeah, think of the delusion in that room of these DOJ and FBI, all career types, none of which appointed by President Trump. You're going to go to the cabinet, all appointed by President Trump, supporters of his agenda, and be like, hey, guys, let's get rid of the guy who got elected. It was never going to happen. But it shows you how much they loathed the guy that got elected, how much they would never support his agenda. And the best move this president has made is firing James Comey.
Yeah.
If you don't fire Jim Comey, none of this comes out because the whole beast rears its head. And those 8 days in May now where they're talking about the 25th Amendment, wearing wires. I don't know if McCabe's lying or not, but it was clearly discussed.
Yeah,
it all
has no
exposes
shame.
them.
I mean, McCabe has no shame, though. Even if what he's saying is true, remember, he was fired for lying, so who even knows? But if he's, talking about the 25th Amendment, invoke the 25th Amendment based on what? Really, what were your grounds for that? What were your grounds for an obstruction of justice investigation to begin with? What, James Comey getting fired? Well, guess what? Everyone on the right and left, a lot of people were calling for James Comey to get fired, even over the way he handled the Hillary Clinton investigation. So I would love to know what his justification was. Would you read the Steele dossier a few times? Really, what was your justification for this?
Rosenstein wrote the memo that the president used as justification, partially, to fire Comey. Then he turns around and wants to investigate him. It's unreal.
This is a story, when this comes out, you're going to have to really make an effort as a viewer to get to the facts. McCabe's spokeswoman, by the way, put this out in a tweet. Melissa Schwartz writes, at no time did Mr. McCabe participate in any extended discussions about the use of the 25th Amendment, nor is he aware of any such discussions. Mr. McCabe has merely confirmed a discussion that was initially reported elsewhere. By the way, about that wire, Rosenstein says that it was in jest. It wasn't a serious wearing a wire.
You gotta love the walk back.
Yeah, nobody believes Melissa, and nobody believes Andy. Yeah. Like, there's none of it. And Rosenstein, I don't know how he still has a job. Yeah. I really don't.
I don't either.
Shocking.
All right, well, from the late-term abortion bills in liberal states to fights over free speech, you may not know how to deal with the latest cultural issues sweeping the country. But our next guest wrote the book on how to stand up for your family, faith, and freedom.
Interesting. And a school resource officer stealing the show at a school dance, his fancy footwork going viral. All right, welcome back. Some quick viral headlines. This vintage Super Mario Brothers video game sells for more than $100,000 at auction. The 1985 NES game is one of the earliest known copies of the game. Sale believed to be a record for a single game. It's a great game, I will say. Not worth $100,000. Ice fishermen making the catch of a lifetime. A 78-inch sturgeon, the biggest ever caught in Minnesota by 5 inches. Yep, that's ice fishing right there, pulling it out of a hole. It took the crew an hour to bring in the beast, which they estimated to weigh 120 pounds. Jedediah, you'll like this. They eventually released the sturgeon back into the river. So nice.
I feel at peace.
And a school resource officer brings his dancing shoes and puts on a show at an elementary school dance. The Alabama officer joins the students while boogieing, you might say, to the iconic cha-cha. Is that a thing? Cha-cha slide?
Yeah.
The woman who took the video just happened to be there in the shot while she was filming. She was filming her son, and the resource officer was right there.
Wow, he's got moves.
Good stuff.
She is known as the activist mommy with more than 70 million video views on social media.
Just admit that you are a liberal media platform and that you are going to discriminate against conservatives and Christians. On behalf of normal women everywhere, I want to say that was not
our march. Welcome to 2019, where we don't just have legal abortion, we brag about it. We are in a rapid tailspin of moral decline.
Well, now she has a new book, Not on My Watch, How to Win the Fight for Family, Faith, and Freedom, to help you stand up for your views. Author and vlogger Elizabeth Johnson joins us right now. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice
to meet you.
So, yeah, talk to us about what you do. I mean, people aren't familiar with the activist mommy. What do you do?
I am a very ordinary homeschooling mom with 10 children. And
10 children.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Woo. And a couple of years ago, I filmed my first video, actually, when Obama issued his transgender bathroom directive. I was very concerned about the nation that my children and future grandchildren would be growing up in. And 70 million video views later, lo and behold, there was a hunger in our culture for a bold answer to the moral and social issues of the day.
Well, and you're tackling issues that every mother's dealing with their kids. My wife, my daughters, I have 2 teenage daughters, trying to deal these difficult subjects to approach. Let's dive right into them. First, the late-term abortion law. States pushing that.
Absolutely. When Cuomo and the radical feminists just signed, and not only signed, but celebrated like they had won a Super Bowl game. The murder of children up until 40 weeks and possibly after, the nation has been reeling ever since. And my inboxes have all been slammed with people saying, I'm done with being on the sidelines. Help me to get on the front lines of this issue and rescue these children. That is why we have organized for this next Saturday, a week from today, the day of mourning. We are asking the entire nation to wear black, not shop, close down your businesses, and repent and mourn with us in solidarity with these unborn children for the sin of abortion. We've got a huge rally planned in Albany. You just had the Benham brothers here this week. They're going to be speaking. Black conservative David J. Harris is going to be speaking. An 8-year-old abortion survivor is going to be sharing. It is going to be powerful. I need all of the viewers to go to dayofmourning.org and see how they can get connected.
You know, another issue that you're really passionate about is gender and how it's being talked about in schools. California law, a new one, is including guidelines for gender education to kindergartners that I found kind of striking.
Teaching kindergartners in California recommends a K-3 book, Who Are You?, which lists 15 genders.
Yes.
Help me.
This is why I organized the global movement Sex Ed Sit Out last year, where we actually sat out on April 23rd. And in California now, this year, they are sitting out on April 23rd in protest of this gender bending and oftentimes, what parents don't know, pornographic sex education. And now we have drag queens reading books in our taxpayer-funded libraries to children, asking them to question their gender. We have children being stolen from their parents by the state because parents are not supporting their kids taking non-FDA approved sex change drugs. Are we out of our minds in this country? The only reason this is happening is because we allow the left to bully us into silence.
The PTA, talking to your principal, you have to stand up at the local level.
We reached out, by the way, to that district and did not hear back from them.
You're really a culture warrior, and that's where many people feel that the fight lies. Why do you think it is, just quickly, why does the right often lose this culture war battle?
Because they fear the left. They fear what they're going to lose. They fear being bullied. If we would just learn to not fear them and even laugh at them, they lose their power. And that's why so many people love Donald Trump, is he knows how to push back against the bullying and the doxing and all of that takes place by the left. So, you know, my attitude is, even though I get death threats, my children get death threats, my attitude is the left didn't give me this platform. God gave me this platform, and it will be over when God decides, not when they decide. So I'm just going to keep pushing truth.
Elizabeth Johnston, the activist mommy. The book is Not on My Watch, right?
Yes.
I'm glad you're on our side.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you are too.
Thanks. You're very passionate.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts.
All right. President Trump slamming Republicans who didn't help him get border wall funding done.
It would have been a lot easier. But some people didn't step up. But we're stepping up now.
Jason Chaffetz says Congress blew it on the wall fight. He joins us next.
And Twitter might not have an edit button. but you may soon be able to clarify old tweets.
Oh, boy.
We'll explain.
People that should have stepped up did not step up. They didn't step up, and they should have. It would have been a lot easier. But some people didn't step up. But we're stepping up now. So we have a chance of getting close to $8 billion. Whether it's $8 billion or $2 billion or $1.5 billion, it's going to build a lot of wall. We're getting it done. We're right now in construction with wall in some of the most important areas. And we have renovated a tremendous amount of wall.
That was the president yesterday in the Rose Garden. Here to react, we're going to bring in Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor, former Utah congressman of the House and Government Oversight Committee. He was the chairman of that committee and author of The Deep State. Jason, thanks for being here. So the president was pretty candid yesterday, as you heard. He was not just critical of the current Congress, but of course, Republicans who held control for 2 years and never got this done as well.
Yeah, Congress was pathetic and inept. Shame on them. They prioritized not shutting down the government over fighting and shutting down illegal immigration. Shame on the Democrats for not protecting this nation. But Republicans are complicit, too. First of all, they should have gotten them the bill and the money in the 2 years when they controlled both the House and the Senate. But I got to tell you, they absolutely blew this. There was a better, smarter way to do this, Pete. One of the things you can do is take one of the previous continuing resolutions, do it on a page and a half, and just say, but by doing that, it would have saved tens of billions of dollars, and it would not have put the handcuffs on the president that the current bill that the president signed in place.
Right. Jason, hold on, though. What about the fact that in those previous continuing resolutions, there was no money for a wall? Nancy Pelosi said she's going to give $1. That's it. There was no money. Now, at least this is, as we've heard, a down payment of sorts, even though it comes with strings. Do the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, not get some credit for at least moving off of zero?
Well, they got off of zero, but they came with all these handcuffs, And so I worry that would have been a better, smarter, easier way, wouldn't have had to declare a national emergency to do so. But nevertheless, the president can only sign what shows up on his desk. So I totally understand and support what the president is doing. I think he's doing everything, but he feels like he's out there all alone. Where are the rest of the people that are supporting him?
He mentioned, it was asked of him yesterday, Jason, Paul Ryan, is the establishment still so stuck in their ways that they're unwilling to go with this president?
Yes.
We spend $1 trillion every 3 months. They couldn't come up with a few $billion in the 2 years in the run-up? Come on.
Yeah. Jason, I got to get to Angie McCabe. You wrote a book called Deep State. Many at the time were saying, the deep state. Now they're listening to McCabe talk on 60 Minutes, and they're saying, wait a minute. There was a deep state. There was a plot here to oust this president. Now Andy McCabe out there, and he's blaming Rod Rosenstein for his comments about the 25th Amendment and how the 25th Amendment was going to be potentially invoked to oust the president. Take a listen. I want to get your reaction from 60 Minutes.
The discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue and discussed it with me in the context of thinking about how many other cabinet officials might support such an effort. The Deputy Attorney General was definitely very concerned about the president, about his capacity, and about his intent at that point in time.
Jason, the Justice Department biting back and saying, actually, that's not true. And I'm always sitting here wondering, what would have been your justification for invoking the 25th Amendment against the president?
No, there was no justification. These were the precursors of essentially a coup. And Congress has really got to dive deep into this because it is so wrong. Now, remember, Andrew McCabe did the one thing that most people in federal government can't do, and that is he got fired for lying. The Inspector General is cited 4 times, 3 times under oath where he lied. I want to know, why is the Department of Justice prosecuting Manafort and others, Papadopoulos, for lying? Why aren't they prosecuting and put Andrew McCabe in jail. This guy lied. It is documented. The referral has been given to the Department of Justice, and this guy should be prosecuted. I don't know what to believe because he never tells the truth.
So, Jason, very quickly, do you believe that Rosenstein should be subpoenaed to come before Congress and talk about not just this last 60 Minutes interview, but the previous stuff you're talking about?
They should have had Rod Rosenstein up before Congress months ago. Again, the lack of leadership, particularly in the House, to not allow, Gowdy and Radcliffe and Jordan and Meadows to get after this guy. They issue him a subpoena and then say, well, you won't give us the time. Oh, well, and they pat him on the back.
How does he
this
still have
guy
a
is
job?
Involved and engaged in. I don't know how he should have been fired. He should be prosecuted. He has conflicts of interest. I don't understand. My hope is that the new Attorney General, he's now in day 2 or 3, will actually take care of this because this guy is the #2 person at the Department of Justice.
He's still there.
Crazy.
Still doing his thing. Unbelievable.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for being
Jason.
here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning.
We're going to turn to some headlines for you now. The compensation fund for victims of 9/11 is quickly running out of money. Future payments will have to be cut by 50 to 70% because of new claims, according to officials. Nearly 40,000 people with potential illnesses related to the terror attacks have applied. About 19,000 of those claims are pending. More than $2 billion are left in the federal fund. Twitter could soon help you out with old, embarrassing tweets. CEO Jack Dorsey is considering a tool that would allow users to clarify posts. That scares me. Those tweets would only be shared with the updated context attached. The idea for the new feature comes amid controversies, including actor Kevin Hart losing his Oscars hosting gig over old tweets. And could you pass the U.S. citizenship test? A new study says most Americans, they'd fail. The Woodrow Wilson Foundation surveyed people in all 50 states and D.C. Vermont is the only state where the majority got at least 60% of the questions right. Louisiana had the worst results, only 27% passed. The foundation says the study proves we need to change the way history is taught in schools.
You think?
Actually teach it maybe for a change.
Well, that's it right there. We've stripped.
right.
First, it was history. Then it was civics. Then it was social studies. Now it's just not even there.
Now it's brainwashing.
Brainwashing
Brainwashing 101.
Brainwashing.
Poor Louisiana. All right, this is a story we've been following for weeks. Decorated Navy SEAL Edward Gallagher, accused of killing an injured ISIS prisoner of war. His trial now delayed. So what happens next? His brother is here to tell us.
Plus, Dan Bongino, Lara Trump, and Karl Rove, they join us too.
Plus, Rick is live from Daytona International Speedway. He's got a special guest, NASCAR driver Eric Amarola. Rick.
I was really excited because Eric's supposed to be making me breakfast, but Eric, come on. Speed this up. I'm hungry. Well, looks like this is going to take a minute.
I'm typically fast, but you can't rush greatness.
Yeah. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe at 7:40 in the morning.
It
that
is
has something to do with it. All right, more coming up. Breakfast with Eric Amarola.
The SEAL leader has been delayed for 3 months. Edward Gallagher, he's accused of killing an ISIS dirtbag, a prisoner of war in Iraq, during a 2017 deployment. His defense team was just granted more time to go over 1,000 pages of new evidence. And while they do this, the married father of 3 remains jailed in a Navy brig in California. Sean Gallagher is the brother of Special Operations Chief Eddie Gallagher. He joins us now with the latest. Sean, first of all, talk to us about how your brother's doing. This is an incredibly long process for a hero to go through. And talk to us about the latest in this case.
The latest in this case is just another in a long line of slights against a decorated war hero. So you just mentioned it at the top. Eddie has spent 5 months before he even had his day in court in jail. We didn't want to. He did not want to push this trial back another 3 months. But prosecutors are literally leaking slanderous things to the media and then also withholding direct evidence that he needs to review and his team needs to review to be as best prepared as they can before trial. And so just a couple days ago, the defense or the prosecution just gave us 1,000+ pages of documents so that we wouldn't be prepared. And so he had to ask for another 3 months or so, which means that a decorated father of 3 will spend 9 months, Pete, 9 months in jail before he even is allowed to prove his innocence.
Before a day in court, 9 months in jail. And here's what the Navy has to say. And you're right, they're leaking things to the press. The legal process is ongoing, and in order to ensure the integrity of the proceedings, it is imperative that the Navy decline to comment at this time. You know who is commenting, though, in a new piece of news our viewers may not know about? There's an Iraqi general that has come out and said, I saw this ISIS guy that was supposedly killed before, during, and after, and Eddie Gallagher and those SEALs did nothing wrong.
I can't emphasize how important this is, Pete, and you would know this as well. This is an Iraqi general, someone who reports directly to the Minister of the Interior of Iraq, to the president.